Hey everyone, Sniff of the Future here, and today we're doing a little crossover video between my Zoia, down here, and Voltage, right there, because we're going to talk about some concepts which are a little easier to explain in Voltage Modular, I think, than they are on the Zoia, and after that we are going to build this patch on the Zoia. So this patch was an idea by Murray. Now he posted on the Zoia Facebook user group with the question of making two sequences that drift in and out of phase. And he asked about the option to do this with the first step becoming longer on one of the sequencers every cycle. I think that's basically the concept. That's quite tricky to do because a step sequencer doesn't actually have a length unit attached to it. The length of a step is dictated by the time between triggers. So although you can do this, you would actually have to sequence the speed of the trigger generator, which is tricky on the Zoia. Not impossible, but tricky. So I proposed this much easier to make patch, which kind of does the same thing. So let's just quickly listen to it. As you can hear, the steps are moving in and out of the same timing, so that's roughly what I was looking for, although the execution is slightly different. It's a much easier to execute ID. Now, to explain this patch, I think it's always nice to have like a sketchbook kind of situation, and for modular, virtual modular is actually a very good way to do this. And of course I'm going to block my own product, because why not? Micro Modular, which is to the left right there, is I think one of the best sketchbook tools out there, because it's just really good at breaking things down to the bare essential little steps. Makes it a little easier to get into things. So what do we have going on here? Well, several things. Obviously we have two LFOs, which are represented here. Both these LFOs are set to square waves, 100% square, and we have the frequency of one set to 2 and one to 2.03. This is the exact same setting as the Zoia, by the way. These LFOs, the square waves, are going to trigger our sequencers. Now we want to make sure that they actually start out with the same timing, because that after all is our starting state. If they start out of sync, that would be weird. So we need to re-trigger both the LFOs to make sure they are at the same phase, and we need to re-trigger our sequencers to make sure they both start at step 1. So that's essentially what this little button does. When we press this button, both LFOs will phase reset and both sequencers will reset. So let's do that. We shoot. There we go. And obviously, because there's a speed difference, they will drift out of phase. Now, I'm using a 8-step sequencer in Voltage. I'm using a 4-step sequencer on Zoia. That's just because I was too lazy to program 8 steps on the Zoia. You can use whatever sequencer length. Next to the sequencers, obviously we need voices, because without voices a sequence is nothing. This is represented with an oscillator, an envelope generator, and an amplifier. Times 2, because we need 2 voices, one for every sequencer, because we don't have polyphonic voices, at least not in micro. Not quite sure about Zoia. Haven't actually messed with that. So I'm just going to build it as 2 individual voices. A mixer to mix the voices, and this is something you can just simply ignore. Now, if we connect up the voices to the oscillators, so we have the first step sequencer feeding the pitch of the first oscillator, second is feeding the pitch of the second oscillator, the first LFO is triggering the first envelope generator, second LFO is triggering the second envelope generator, we should get basically the same sound. So let's do that. And as you can see, the Zoia is bypassed. So that sounds very familiar to the Zoia sound we just had. Let's actually switch to the Zoia. No. And it's voltage modular again. Now obviously there are going to be small differences in tone and timing and that sort of stuff. So I try to match it fairly closely. Now we need to rebuild this on the Zoia. So let's actually just do that to show you how I set this up. And I just have to quickly double check. I think I've connected it. I actually patched the stereo. Okay, so that's fine. So let's get into a clean patch. Here we go. And let's build this out. So obviously, I hope this is readable. We are going to need a little button. Now our buttons are right here, a little push button. And we're going to say done. And we press the button, it goes to 1 or to 0. So that little button is this little button here. Next, we need some LFOs. Let's go into control, LFO, square wave. And it's important to have the phase reset on. Done. And we're going to need 2 of these, so we're just going to copy one over here. Done. Now we have 2 LFOs. And we will connect the little push button to the phase reset. So if you press reset, the blinky lights blink in sync. So that works. You're going to set 1 to, I set 2. Now if you want to have fine control, you can hold the shift button and turn the little wheel thingy. Takes a little bit of time. Eventually you get there. 2. And this one goes to 2.05. 2.03. Here we go. And that's our 2 LFOs set up. Now we need to have some sequencers because we want to trigger some sequencers and we need an output. So let's start with an output interface. Audio output. Done. Cool. So what we have built right now is a button, 2 LFOs, which are triggerable, and we have a output. So that's our output. Let's get some sequences here. 4 steps. And we need a retrigger check because we want to reset it to the start. It should loop. That's sequencer 1. Four steps. Restart check on. And that's sequencer 2. The gates are right here. The resets are right here. So we are going to connect the resets to the little button. So the button is now connected to the phase resets and to the sequencer resets. We can now connect sequencer 1 gate into the first LFO, sequencer 2 gate in to the LFO. And there we go. These are stepping now. And that's the base of our patch. Now we still need to, of course, make some voices, and we need to set up these sequencers. Now I forgot what sequence I did. It was something completely random, so let's do...
I think it was a G3. G3, C4, something like that. It's nice to have a little bit of cheat here. So that's D4, and that's A3. This sequence was completely just random turning of knobs. D4. That's actually higher. G5, I guess.
I would highly recommend spending a little bit more time actually making a good sequence, but well, it's just an example after all. Let's do A3. Cool. So this is our sequencing section, and this is done. Now we just need to make some voices. Now I assume you already know how this works, but we're just going to go over it anyways. So for voices, we need some envelopes. We need an ADSR. Actually, we need 2 ADSRs, but I'm going to set it up in a little bit of a convoluted way. 1 ADSR here, 1 ADSR here. I think I put the oscillators in between. Yep. And the amp VCA right around there. I think that was the setup I used. So let's do the oscillator here and the VCA here. Done. And we need a mixer. Audio mixer. Actually, I only need 2 channels because we have 2 voices. Done. Alrighty. We're just going to zoom in a little bit. I hope this doesn't disrupt my recording. Here we go. So now we need to do some messing around. We need some gates. So I'm going to connect this gate to the first oscillator. So that's not triggering. This gate to second LFO, sorry, that's LFO. So these are now triggering. We can fiddle around with the settings a little bit, but we're just going to not touch it right now. We need to take the VCA level control. This is the first one. That's the second one. So these are now triggering. Oscillator 1 goes to this VCA. Oscillator 2 goes to this VCA. And just need to check where the inputs are. VCA out 1, input 1, VCA out 2, input 2. And now we can actually output this here. We do have output, but there's something weird going on. So the question is, what is going on that is causing weirdness? Oh, I haven't connected the pitch, obviously. Pitch 1. Step sequencer 1. Pitch 2. And there you go. Obviously I messed something up with the the pitches, but that's the entire patch. That's really the easiest way to set up this concept of sequencers that go in and out of phase. Now, to determine how long your sequence will be, that's in the common denominator between the two LFOs. So yeah, some math stuff required there, but actually setting this up is not really that hard once you have a little bit of a game plan. And I really like voltage for that. You can also use VCA or any virtual modular, or I guess even a pen and paper. But it's nice to have this little check in the virtual realm to make sure all your patching makes sense, and makes it just a little bit easier to move it to the Zoia. The only downside of using micro modules is that you will get spoiled and you will miss some functionality on the Zoia, but well, it is what it is. Anywho, I hope this video was useful for both Zoia users and for voltage users, of course. And I hope it also showed the interesting thing where you can use hardware and software to replicate effects. That's it for this video, and see you next time.